Welcome to a new episode of the Bleeding Metal podcast, everyone. I am your host, Kiki, she, her, and I am here with my lovely co-host,
Pia, she, her. Hello.
Hello. I don't know if people noticed, but we, up until last month, we had been releasing the episodes so that earlier in the month was the short bonus episode about the albums that we were discussing, and at the end of the month we had a longer episode about a topic. We had also Charlie Rolfe from As Everything Unfolds. We had Sue from the Hell Freaks, and that is where things changed. We released both of those episodes right after each other, and this is now your bonus episode, or just a special episode where we're going to talk about a few different topics, actually.
Yeah, I think it's going to be longer than our usual bonus episodes.
Yeah. We planned it for 30 minutes, but we might go a little longer because there have been lots of things happening in the metal scene, in the metal world just recently, and I think it's important for us to
make a stand,
to make a statement
to some of these.
I propose that we speak shortly about the sexual abuse allegations that have been made towards this huge industrial metal band from Germany that everybody knows.
The lead singer.
And their lead singer. Mm-hmm. We won't say the name, I think. Everybody knows who they are. Everybody's talking about it. We don't need to give them a lot more attention because I don't think they deserve it. But we do want to express our support towards the survivors of all these abuse that has been systematic, has been going on for years. And apparently a lot of people knew about it. And apparently a lot of people are still doing lots of horrible victim blaming. And to that, we say that is bullshit. And
we believe you.
Yes, we believe you. We stand with you. You have our complete support. And I am really, really sorry that all of you had to go through that. Yep. I hope that you can recover from that completely, and heal from that completely. And especially, I really hope that there will be consequences for the abusers.
Yeah, I am very sorry too. And I also want to say we believe you. And also, if you out there want to do something to support people, to support the survivors, there are here and there some fundraising campaigns because the band goes full force with their lawyer against the women who speak up, and that can be really expensive really quickly. And there are these crowdfundings who collect money so that they can support the survivors, so that they are not silenced because of fear of having to pay this money.
Legal fees.
Yeah.
We will link to all those fundraising campaigns in the episode description so that everybody who can afford to can help and support the survivors that are actually pressing charges.
Don't be ashamed if you only have €1 or $1 or whatever. Every euro counts. Every euro helps.
Yes, exactly. Every little bit helps. And also it is a very important and very good cause to support because we actually want the legal system to work. Mm-hmm. We want the abusers to face the consequences of their actions. And also I would like to encourage everybody within the music and within the metal industry to make a statement as well, to never look the other way. If you knew about this and thought, oh my gosh, well, that is rock and roll. Well, now you can learn that that's not rock and roll. And if you ever see those kinds of behaviors and systematic abuse going on elsewhere, you can also always speak up and help us build a safer community.
Mm-hmm. Of course, there is no problem with having fun, having sex with groupies if there is consent.
Consent is important, yeah.
Yeah, that's the thing.
Mm-hmm. It's a big, big difference. Mm-hmm. That said, we can switch to another piece of news that we wanted to
share with
mention.
You. Yeah, because A few days ago, Dirk Lehberger passed away, and maybe the name doesn't ring a bell in your head, but he's been the tour manager for Arch Enemy for many, many years, and also artist manager at the Rock Hearts Festival. And that's also where we got to know him, because from 2012 to 2015, we made a lot of interviews for the Rock Hearts Festival at their festival, and Dirk was so kind to share his office with us so that we can work from there. And so we, yeah, met him every day. We kind of spent the day with him. He really worked hard from, yeah, from sunrise until the end of the festival day. And he's a really, really nice, or he was a really, really nice person. And yeah, it made me sad when I heard that he passed away, and that he wasn't even that old. So it was a
Mhm.
heart attack, I think. So yeah, it was too early for him to go.
Yeah. So our deepest condolences to the family of Dirk Lehberger, and to everybody who knew him, to everybody who ever crossed paths with him in this industry. Yeah. And those are that is the dark part of the show.
I was
I
going to
guess.
say, let's talk about fun topics.
And we have a lot of fun topics for you today. Maybe we can leave the big news to the end. So, ooh, now you have to listen until the end to hear a big piece of news. We're gonna have a big announcement. Or should we be the good journalists and put the more important thing in the beginning, as it should be?
Well, I think if you can't wait until the end, you can hover into the show notes because lots of information will be linked there.
Exactly. Good point. Yeah. Okay. So stay tuned for a little bit of a huge surprise. It has to do with an anniversary. It has to do with a big event and a lot of fun stuff happening. And it also has to do with metal festivals, which is our main topic of the episode. And through the years, even before we knew each other, we were going to metal festivals, right?
Yeah.
So I would like to know, Pia, what was your first big festival that you remember?
My first big festival was Earthshaker Fest 2005. Um, I wanted to go there because Nightwish were there, and
Mm.
also some other bands that I liked a lot, especially at that time, like like Rhapsody of Fire. They were
Mhm.
there with a choir and an orchestra. I think Children of Bodom also were there. JBO, um, yeah. So a lot of cool bands. And the festival actually was far, far away from my home. It's in Bavaria.
Oh,
And
damn.
I wasn't 18 yet then, so I was not able to go there by car. I had to go there by train. And when you don't have any festival experience, it's quite hard to think about what do I need. I need a tent. I need something
Mhm.
to sleep in, a sleeping bag, and everything. So yeah, it was not so easy to calculate all that stuff. And of course, I didn't have that much money, so that was a good experience um, to kind of jump into the cold water. I don't know if you say that in English too.
Yeah.
Yeah, but it was fun. It was a cool festival. I had
You
a lot
didn't
of
go
fun
alone,
there.
though, right?
No, I went there with my now ex-boyfriend, but boyfriend at that
Mhm.
time.
Cool.
We had everything. We had heat, we had mud. Um, yeah, it was interesting.
That's a fun first festival memory. Um, that is so important. I think that the first experience is good.
Yeah, and the first thing that happened, because um, we booked our train to the closest station, but that
Mhm.
station was in a, I wouldn't even call it village. We stepped out of the train and there were three buildings and nothing
Oh,
else. And
damn.
we were like, okay, what are we going to do now? How can we get from here to the festival ground? Yeah, by the end of the day, we had to take a taxi,
Mhm.
which of course, was expensive.
Yeah,
And
damn.
when we arrived there, there was a Burger King. And of course, we were hungry, so we went into the Burger King, and there were metalheads in the whole Burger King, and we were like, "Yeah, this is heaven."
That sounds great.
So, what was your first festival?
My very first festival was Quito Fest, actually. It's funny because it was not a purely metal festival, but it was, it may still be Ecuador's biggest music
Hmm.
festival. And it started as a kind of protest during the festivities of the foundation of the city, Quito, the capital of Ecuador. There would be a lot of bullfights, and people would go there to get drunk and see these poor bulls get tortured. So Quito Fest was born as some sort of protest to try to pull people away from that and show them that there's cooler ways to be entertained. So I remember when I was 15, it was a 1 day thing and it was pretty small, I think. But by the next year, it was a huge stage with 3 days of festival, and it was awesome. And I remember that not many of my friends, well, I have always been the black sheep in my friend circle, so nobody listened to the same music that I did, and I had only like a few not very close friends that were going, or I convinced one of my closest friends to go with me, but then she had a family thing to attend, so at some point I was alone at this festival. And I
Hmm.
remember that shaped my mind so much because I really wanted to see these bands.
Hmm.
So at some point, I didn't care standing there alone because I just wanted to be there.
Hmm.
And that is something that's still happening today. Like just at the beginning of the month, I went to Rock am Ring and to several bands to see the bands. I wasn't there alone, but to see the bands, I went alone and I stood in the crowd on my own.
Hmm.
And so, yeah, that is something that has never stopped me from from going to concerts alone and going to festivals alone-ish. Um, and I think that is very important to have that autonomy and to just not let not miss these incredible artists you want or you like
Yeah.
because nobody will come with you.
Yeah, exactly. I also went to several concerts and festivals alone, and I still
Mhm,
do that. Um, Most of the time, I know some people who go there, so I meet
mhm,
them there, but not for the whole festival. We just meet for a beer or something.
mhm.
But even if that wouldn't be the case, I mean, when you watch the bands, you don't talk anyway,
Yeah.
right? And I also go to the cinema alone if I want to see a movie because
Mhm,
where's the point? Why should I not go there just because there is no one sitting next to me
mhm.
who doesn't speak at all? So
Yeah.
don't let you stop. Don't let that stop you from doing the to having from having these experiences because you
Mhm.
can have a lot of fun and chances are that you meet new people. If not, that's also fine. You are there to see the band and not to be there with people. That's at least my point of view on that.
Totally. So true. Yes. Very, very true. And afterwards, so that was like my first festival experience. And afterwards, when I moved to Germany, um, in my very early years in Germany, I went to Rock im Park with a
Hmm.
few friends. So that was the first camping festival that I went to, and the first of several. And then you and I, one of our first experiences together was at a festival, at Rock Hard Festival.
Hmm.
I think we had met just a few days before, and we went to that festival kind of together as part of the internship that we were doing at
Hmm.
Rock Hard magazine. So, do you still remember about that?
Yeah, it was so cold at night.
Right, right, yeah.
Yeah, I remember. Um, I went to Dortmund just for 2 months,
Hmm.
and I didn't have the chance to go back home and collect any of my festival stuff. So it was it wasn't clear that I would be part of the festival crew when I started my internship.
Oh,
So I had to ask friends if I can sleep in their tent and stuff like that.
oh,
Can
really?
you bring me this and that, please? But it worked, thanks to Marcel.
That's great.
Yeah, but I remember, yes.
It was very nice, also because it was very small.
Hmm.
I don't remember. I don't have any numbers in mind anymore, but it was a pretty small festival. It was also 2 days, 3 days.
I think 3 days, yeah.
And so it was the kind of thing that you met someone and you saw them all the time, or you run into each other again all the time.
Hmm.
And yeah, I remember the lineup was pretty cool. Epica played. Um, that was great. Seeing my favorite band. I think I even got an autograph there. I don't even remember, but I do remember that the party tent at night was a hit. And also we had access to the VIP
Hmm.
tent, and I remember like a lot of famous people being there. And at some point, I sat there, and I was all alone. I was what 23, and all of a sudden, this super tall person comes to me and starts talking to me. It turns out it was one of the members of Fintroll. It was super interesting to have all these kinds of experiences, also meeting these yeah, famous people.
It's always fun to work at festivals as well because
Hmm.
I did that for several years, being on the campground, having beer with your friends and everything. And
Hmm.
at some point, I really got tired of that because, as I mentioned before, I go there to see the bands. And
Right.
sorry, my dear friends, I also like to be with you, but the point for me is to, yeah, to see the bands on stage. And so, um, when I started with metal journalism, I of course took the chance to also write festival reports and stuff like that. And so that later turned into us also having video interviews backstage and everything. So that was a cool
Yeah,
experience.
and that is where the story kind of starts, because that was 2011. We were both at Rock Hard magazine, and then we kept in touch. Did we go to Mental Female Voices Fest that same year?
Yeah,
That same year, right? 2011. Yeah, so we went there, and we were also covering the festival for Metal 4.
that was
That's
later. I think that year you were there for Dark Feather and I was there for Power Metal DE.
right. Right. That was the year we slept in your car.
We slept in my car and it was minus 20 degrees or something.
Well, it felt like minus 20. It was probably just like 8,
It
but
was
still,
fucking cold.
it was cold as hell.
And the shower only had cold water. I remember we went there to the campground shower. And we're
Yeah.
like, oh, come on, let's have a hot shower so that we can warm up. And I remember that you were in the shower next to me and I just heard you cold. And I was like, no, I want to go out of here again.
It was really awful. That one was really awful, especially because Metal Female Voices Fest happened in a tiny town in Belgium, and the
There is
festival
nothing.
didn't have a campground really.
Mhm.
And yeah, and we just were not prepared for this. But it was one of the first festivals where the second by then, I guess, where we actually were, yeah, as you said, kind of working. We had many, well, no, we didn't. I didn't do many interviews back then, but we had to see the bands. We had to be there from beginning to end, and yeah, and it was a lot of fun, but it was also very exhausting. And that started then many, like, yeah, 10 years of going to festivals, or at least 7, like before the pandemic. of going to festivals to do that. And I was, just before we started recording, I just mentioned the marathons that we used to do, the interview marathons that we did exactly there at Metal Female Voices Fest, when we had already founded Metal and High Heels. And we had this pretty cool deal with the festival. They gave us a little room in the backstage so that we could do our video interviews. And that must have been from the second time, though.
I think the second time we went there for Metal 4, because 2012 we already did this huge project for the Rock Arts Festival with almost every band that played at the festival.
Yeah.
So we were in the modus of interviewing nonstop. And we just went there. So we didn't even have backstage access, but the bands took us backstage for the interviews. And then we found out, okay, there is a room that no one uses at all. And next year we asked, well, we discovered that you might have space for us. Can we have a room for us for our interviews? Because we do a lot of them.
Right. But now that you mention it, of course, sure. In 2012, we were working together with Rock Arts. And as you were just in the dark news segment, as you were just mentioning as well, we were able to work with them in their office, because in the festival's office, because we were writing the festival reports in real time.
Mm-hmm.
So we would see a band. We would. It was not just the two of us. We had a few other journalists working together with us for the festival website, and we would go to see the bands, taking turns. The bands which we wanted to see, actually, that was pretty cool. And afterwards, we would come back to the office and type down everything that had happened, what we saw, what we liked, and we also did several interviews. I remember 2012, and this interview is still on YouTube. I interviewed Lacuna Coil, and I was such a big fan. And I was so nervous.
Mm-hmm.
And they were so nice. That was really cool.
And what also is important, please remember the situation with internet back then, because now we all have smartphones, we have connection all the time, but back then it also was important to be in the office to have access to the internet, and to have stable access to the internet.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Right, because Rock Arts Festival is also not close to a bigger city, so the coverage was not super stable, and especially when several thousands of people are reunited at one spot, everything, you know how it is.
Mm-hmm.
Everything gets a little more intense. So yeah, after that marathon, and that was also the very first marathon of interviews and festival work that we did, because I remember being tired as hell one night and having to wait until 3 a.m. for the last interview of the day, because Paul Diano had horrible travel delays, and he had stepped kind of out of the airplane and onto the stage, and we had to interview him. And so we did it after his gig, and that was very, very, very late. I really think it was maybe 2 or 3 a.m.
Mm-hmm.
And I remember kind of taking a nap on the desk waiting for that to happen.
I was running on adrenaline all the time.
Yeah, that was incredible. And after that, then, yeah, that year we went to Metal Female Voices Fest again for still for Metal 4, and we did these other lots of interviews. By then we had learned our lesson, and we stayed at an Airbnb in Brussels, and we took the festival shuttle to the festival.
But the funny thing is that in that year we had plus 20 degrees. I remember us standing there with Lisa Mittelhaufer.
Yeah.
In the sun with wearing, I don't know.
Wearing sunglasses. Yeah.
Sunglasses and everything, yeah.
Right, because that was the year that I drove with Lisa there, and I met you at the festival, and then we took the shuttle back to Brussels and all of that. And that was the year I met the lovely Lindsay Schoolcraft in the artist shuttle, actually, because since I drove with Lisa Mittelhaufe, first singer of Xandria, I was at their hotel, at the artist's hotel, and then towards the festival, I went with them on the artist shuttle. And I remember Lindsay sitting next to me, and just with the friendliest and warmest smile ever, reaching out her hand and saying, "Hi, I'm Lindsay." And I was like, "Hi, I'm Kiki." And I really didn't expect you to be so friendly. It was beautiful. We have had her many times here on the podcast and on our YouTube interviews as well. Lindsay Schoolcraft, big shout out. She's amazing. And yeah, and the year afterwards in 2013 was actually finally the first year that we went there as Metal and High Heels. And then, as I
We
was saying, we
found
had
it.
our
Yeah.
backstage room at Metal Female Voices Fest. That was the year of our founding. We went to the festival to celebrate the big inauguration, the grand opening of our magazine. And we did also another marathon of interviews. I think we had several per day. It was 3 days of festival, might have been 5 or even more
More.
interviews per day.
I think we had more. I remember that we hardly saw the bands. We were like, "Oh no, I have
Mhm.
to go and see at least 3 songs because I want to write about it."
Yeah, that too, right? Yeah. Because we wrote about the festival, we did all of these interviews, we prepared the interviews. Um, we had a few drinks in between. It was so much fun, but it was also very exhausting.
Yeah, for me, alcohol keeps me awake and keeps me doing things.
Yeah.
I think that's not for everyone, but for me back then, that worked pretty well to not be drunk as fuck, but to have a constant level of not being too tired.
It also makes me at least less nervous, so
Mhm.
that helped. Was that the year we had Flor Jansen
Yeah,
right before she
right
was
before,
announced to be the new Nightwish singer?
3 days before or something. I don't know.
It was super interesting.
Yeah.
And then the year after, we did it again, and then we went back to Rocats in 2015.
Also 14, I think. I think we did
I
it
was not
every
in
year.
14.
I have so many things were happening.
So
Maybe you
many
missed it,
things are happening. Yeah.
but at least 2015 was the last year we did that for Rock Hearts.
Hmm.
Um, and also Metal Female Voices Fest had a year where it didn't happen.
That was 15, I think,
Yeah.
because
And
we went
you,
back on 16.
yeah, something like that. And we went to Female Metal Event, and then there
Hmm.
were both festivals, and we went to both festivals, of course.
Yeah,
And they were just a month.
apart.
Yeah.
And in between there, somewhere, I think it was also 2011, my first Wacken, where you were there as well. In 2015, I also went to Hellfest.
Hmm.
Hellfest was a big, cool thing. I was just watching some of the performances of this year's Hellfest on YouTube yesterday, and that festival is just insane. How huge it is, and I just love the way everything is decorated in there. It's just really really cool.
Hmm. There are some festivals on my bucket list where I plan to go, but I definitely want to stay in a hotel.
Hmm.
For example, Hellfest or also Copenhagen would be great to go there one day.
Right. Hellfest is also in the middle of nowhere, so I don't know how the hotel situation is. But yeah, and that is something, um, or that is rather the next aspect of things that I wanted to talk about, because all of this exhausting work had also a lot of perks. For instance, the access to some sort of press or VIP area, depending on the festival. Um, in yeah, at Metal Female Voices Fest, we had both. We had the VIP area for fans as well, with VIP tickets, and then the backstage where the artists were. We had
Mhm.
our room there for our interviews. At Wacken, we had a press area. At Hellfest, there was a press area. And it was just this nice, calm place to chill in the shade if it was extremely sunny,
Mhm.
and just to be away from the crowd, from the big crowds and the big noise for a little bit, and just recharge your batteries,
Mhm.
both your phones and your own.
Yes, and at the Rockharts Festival, where we did interviews all day long, we also had access to food.
Hmm.
And we also were able to go on stage from the back. So we had crew access everywhere.
Right.
So there were no limits for us. So we had the chance to at least see some of the bands we wanted to for at least one song or something, because we just were able to go on stage, see them from behind. But yeah, anyway, the way
Mhm.
back to the next interview was short. So that was sometimes the only possibility for us to see at least a bit.
Yeah, 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 yeah. And that is something that through the years I really appreciated,
Hmm.
to have this special special areas of a little bit of rest if we're working. And if not, now, some festivals have that kind of experience on sale too,
Yeah.
which is what I just had 2 weeks ago at Rock am Ring. I
Hmm.
went to Rock am Ring for the first time in 2014, and I remember having to stand in line for like 2 hours to be able to go to the front part of the crowd, because I really, really wanted to see Linkin Park from near. And good thing we did, because I was able to see Linkin Park with Chester.
Hmm.
But I remember that. And this year, my partner had the brilliant idea to go to the festival again, but to actually splurge for the experience camping, which is tons more expensive than the normal camping. But it had. The tent was already there. We even had a fridge in our tent, so also electricity in our tent. We had this very special, this special camping area where everybody's tents were already there. There was a party tent for this area. There were 2 jacuzzis for this area. That was just so much luxury. And we also had a special entrance that guaranteed access for those frontmost zones of the main stage, towards the main stage. So it was really, really relaxed to just chill downstairs at the camping site. And 5 minutes or 10 minutes before a band started that you wanted to see at the main stage, just go the stairs. Those were the worst stairs ever. It was very. Uh, I think I counted them at one point. It was like 60 stairs, and they were very steep. So it was very exhausting too. But but then I was there, and I could see, I don't know, Ginger, Incubus. Um, I miss the Foo Fighters, I have to admit. But otherwise, it was really cool. I have to say though, for my music taste, the main stage was relevant only on the first day. For the second and third days, I was more drawn towards the smaller or the mid stage, because that is where a lot of cooler bands like Architects and Evanescence and Bring Me the Horizon were playing, and Spirit Box. That was amazing. And
Hmm.
also, after 10 years of doing all these marathon work festivals, it's also really nice to have to go privately, to not have
Hmm.
to be thinking all the time, oh, what are they playing? How are they playing? Are they doing a good performance? Do I have to run to do an interview? How late am I? Just go there and enjoy, and also still have these kind of special access perks. That was really.
Yeah. I just had to think about an idea that one of my ex-boyfriends and I had years ago, because we were going to a lot of festivals and we thought, well, how would this look like when we are 70 years old? And we said, well, maybe we should found something that
Mhm.
we could call the gray metalheads, so that you have assistants when you're on that age for the whole
I know.
festival.
Oh, that's great.
So
That's a
whoever
great
listens,
idea.
you can steal the idea. Please do that. Please
Yes.
make that happen. That also, when we are older than 60 and 70, we can go there and maybe
Do
also be
go to festivals.
on a kind
Yeah.
of campground or whatever. Or you have a hotel near and shuttle bus and stuff like that. So yeah, that would be
Yeah.
cool.
That'd be really cool. Yes. And that takes me over to the other sort of festivals, the more maybe city like festivals, where you stay at a hotel and then go to the festival and, with either the city's public transportation, or you just walk there, or you're in a city.
Yes, for example, Helsinki.
Woohoo! And we went to Helsinki for the first time together in 2018. I think you and Steffi went together in 2017 already.
Yes, we went there, and we also took some time to go hiking because Espoo, the city next to Helsinki, has a huge national park where you can go for one or another hike. And yeah, we did that. We had a car for several days, saw the nature, and
Mhm.
then we brought the car back because we rented that at the airport, and then there was the festival, and then we also took some time to see the city. Yeah, that was
Yes.
amazing. And
So you did have nature after all around the
yes.
festival.
And we had an Airbnb, and it took us 10 minutes to walk to the festival ground, which was amazing.
Right. Another short walk we had was also in years prior to that at Female Metal event,
Hmm.
where we went to Eindhoven,
Hmm.
and we also had an Airbnb at first, the first year, and we also had a hotel the next year, and it was always a 10 to 15 minute walk to the stages, to the venue. And
Hmm.
well, in Metal Female Voices Fest, the last 2 years, I think, when we finally did it right, we had an Airbnb next to the
Artist hotel.
artist hotel. So we took the shuttle with them as well. But yeah, so we slept in real beds, as you say, while going to the festival, and that is something that my body appreciates a lot when doing this kind of partying. In 2018, we went back together to Helsinki for Tuska, and had a blast. We didn't do too many interviews that year that I remember, so it was
Hmm.
a little more chill, a
Chill.
little more relaxed.
Also because Tuska is very strict. You need a special accreditation if you want to do videos. And I'm not
Hmm.
sure if you're even allowed to film backstage. So everything we did was doing audio interviews, which was okay because we were able to use that for the podcast
Hmm.
and also uploaded them on YouTube. Yeah, and I think we had maybe 3 interviews per day. So we did only ask bands that we knew very well, that we found interesting. And I remember the year before, in 2017, Steffi and I had an interview with the band starts with an A. I know that she liked the band a lot, and
Atarium, was it?
yeah, maybe we planned, I don't know, 10 or 15 minutes for the interview, and we talked 30 minutes,
Mhm.
and the chat was so cool. So that was a lot of fun. Um, yeah, but
I think those video restrictions have changed.
yeah, maybe. Yeah, I mean,
And
we also could have asked, but the whole communication was very, very rational.
Mhm.
And I also didn't feel like asking with my camera in my hand if I am allowed to take it with me. Or, yeah, I was like,
Right.
okay, then let's only do the audio interviews, and we are fine with that.
And that was fine. We would do them for the podcast.
Yeah.
And that is what we did in 2018 as well. And it was so fun. I just remember, and I will never forget, and I will always and forever talk about this. I remember that we took the city bikes to go to the after parties because our Airbnb was very near the venue, the festival venue, but the after parties happen in the center of Helsinki. And so we would take the bikes down there and then go back with sunrise, which is a lot earlier, so it was not super late, but the sun was already rising.
Mm. I
And we
think
were
the
riding our bikes
venues in
home.
Helsinki closed at 3 a.m. back then,
Mhm.
or even 2 a.m. So they had strict times for ending the party. There was no
Yeah.
way to extend it to 5 a.m. or something.
And that was my last festival before the pandemic,
Hmm.
because in 2019 I was in Ecuador throughout the summer, and then the pandemic happened, and there were no festivals for 2 years. And on the Tuska side, we still did a bit of an interview collaboration because Tuska had the Utopia streams that were also filmed. At least one was filmed at the festival venue. So those were really interesting. And then things started to come back to normal in 2021.
Two. Two.
No, one. We went to Euroblast in 21.
Yeah, but I think the big festivals didn't happen
Yeah, right.
because restrictions were too high and they were not able to do that.
Right. But a festival is a festival, and we went to Euroblast in the autumn of 2021. That was a 1 day indoor thing in Cologne. And it was fun. It was very weird. There were a lot of people still wearing masks and everything. And you had to have a negative COVID test to be able to get into the venue. So it was all very surreal, very pandemic like. By now, we know that's how it was in those times, in those ages.
Yes, back then in the day.
Yeah. But then 2022 came around, and I don't think yes, of course I did. We went to High Five Summerfest.
We had an episode about that.
Yes. Steffi and I went there, and this was another festival in a city. We stayed at the hotel, and it was a very small festival, but it was really awesome too. And I remember that the Electric Callboy was the headliner and was an incredible party. It was really awesome.
Yay. Before the pandemic in 2019, I went to Metal Days in Slovenia together with Steffi.
All right.
That was also interesting because Steffi doesn't take planes. And I was like, okay, when we go there together, of course. So we took the train to Slovenia, which was a long, long hour ride. But it was okay. We also went hiking and to see. No, we actually planned to go hiking, but Steffi hurt her foot at the festival, and
Oh
so
no.
we had to stay in the city in Ljubljana after that. But it was okay because we saw the city, and the city is also very lovely. So if you have the chance to go there, do that. And the festival, yeah, it's holidays for metalheads because you have a river nearby where you can go swimming and a kind of beach and everything. So it's also a very special experience.
Yeah, I bet. It always looks so idyllic with the water and the mountains, and
Yeah.
yes.
And we didn't have so many bands that we wanted to see, so we could take the chance and also go on a day trip to see the environment,
That's
the
beautiful.
surroundings. Yeah.
That's nice. Yeah, talking about Steffi going by train. I followed her good example last year going to Stockholm for High Five Summerfest. And yeah, I went there by train and did a few stops on the way there and on the way back. It was my first time in Scandinavia, so it was very, very, very cool. Is it now time for the big secret?
Yes, it is.
This year, Steffi will be taking a plane because
What?
she is coming with me again to Tuska. We are going to be doing something even more special at Tuska. As you have noticed, it is 2023. And as we just said, in 2013, we started Metal and High Heels, Pia, you and me. And so it is our 10-year anniversary of working together, even though now we are called Bleeding Metal and we no longer have a huge magazine. We only have this lovely, lovely podcast. But it's even more impactful, I think. I think that we have grown very opinionated, which I'm very proud of. And we still get the feedback from artists. We just did last time we had an interview. Sue from the Hell Freaks was super lovely and told us that she had enjoyed the conversation, especially because nobody else asks the questions that we ask on our interviews. And that is the best feedback that an artist can give me personally.
Yeah.
And so to celebrate this amazing milestone of 10 years, we are presenting together with Tuska Festival, the biggest metal festival in Finland. We are presenting the Tuska Forum by Bleeding Metal.
Whoop whoop.
I can't believe it's happening.
That's amazing. Me neither, because when I went there in 2017, they already had this Tuska Forum.
Hmm.
And I was like, how cool is this to have the possibility to also have discussions with several artists to topics that are interesting for you
Yeah.
as a metalhead? Because I visited many years ago a convention here in Germany where
Hmm.
they had a lot of researchers who did research about heavy metal, and that was so interesting. And I was like, well, I want to see that more often. And also there they had a researcher who talked about his work and stuff like that. So yeah, I thought that's a benefit for every festival, and now we are doing that.
Yeah. And I remember in 2018, and apparently Tuska has been having the Tuska Forum since 2015 as a side program for, the festival goers. And in 2018, I remember going there with you, Pia, and we sat at a panel about women in metal and gender in metal. And I remember it was so interesting, and yeah, it was this thing that was so enriching to the experience of going not only there to celebrate your bands and celebrate music and have fun, but also be able to listen, to participate as well, yeah, and to listen to all of these super interesting conversations from people with people from the scene, with experts from the scene. And I had never seen that, and it really impacted me and made me like the festival even more. Afterwards, I saw and I see that nowadays the format has caught on, and a lot of festivals are doing that. You just mentioned Copenhagen. In Copenhagen,
Mhm.
just they also had panels. Um, Inferno Music Fest in Norway also had the Inferno conference a few months ago, and even the festival we were just mentioning, High Five Summerfest last year, had a few interviews on the side. That was honestly a little cringe. It was this tiny quote unquote stage. It wasn't really a stage. It was just two couches with a microphone and under a tent, a little bit of a tent, and people could like watch from outside. And they invited the singer from Future Palace and the singer from Cyan Kicks, who were both bands were performing at the festival. And I don't remember who it was, and if the person who did those interviews ever listens to this, I'm sorry, not sorry, but I criticized your and I facepalmed throughout your interview because the questions were a little patronizing. They weren't very informed. They were simple questions, kind of like, "What is it like to be a girl in the scene?" And it's like, do we
Mm.
really have to ask
Mhm.
that still?
Mhm.
And so it's even a bigger pleasure for me to have taken the initiative this year and asked Tuska if we can be part of their forum. And we took over. We have been organizing it, and I have really put a lot of work into the program and into the people who we're going to be interviewing and talking to. The theme of the forum is Young Voices and the Future of Metal. And we have interactive panels such as artificial intelligence in music and specifically in metal.
Mhm.
We have interview guests like Alissa from Arch Enemy and Marko Hietala from Nightwish and Tarot. And also, we're going to talk to TURMION KÄTILÖT. That is a very innovative Finnish band. And one of the interviews that I'm also looking forward to very, very much is with Samy Elbanna, the singer from Lost Society, who is very outspoken about mental health.
Mhm.
And the band has a song called 112, which is the Finnish
Fire and emergency.
emergency number. Yeah,
Yeah.
it's so 112 is the Finnish 911. And it's a lot about a very, very dark place in his mental health in his life, just recently even. So it's going to be really, really exciting to get into that with Samy.
Yeah.
Yeah. And on our artificial intelligence panel, I'm going to be talking to two relatively newcomer bands from Finland, and together live, we will be producing a single, like a whole song.
Whoa. Will you sing?
No. No, that's the thing. It has to be artificial. It has to be made by bots completely.
Completely. Okay.
Yeah. Yeah. So that's going to be super interesting. The bands are Galvanizer and Slash the Smile. We are going to have so much fun.
I'm pretty sure you will.
Yes.
Yeah, it's amazing. And thank you for putting all this work, all this effort in the project to make that happen. And also, of course, take the step and ask the Tuska organizers if we can do that, because I think they were about to cancel the panels because their previous cooperation partner didn't want to do this anymore. So thanks to you, there will be a panel.
Yeah, kind of. There will be a forum. I reached out to them because I remember that we always had direct contact with the CEO and from Tuska, Eka, and he's always been super nice.
Yeah.
So I just asked if we could moderate one of the panels or two for our podcast and sent a few ideas over. And yeah, the forum partner pulled out. So I offered to take over the whole organization. And that's what I have been doing for the past few months. And so, yeah, I'm so sad that you cannot come with me. But Steffi will be there with me for logistical and organizational support. It's going to be a lot of fun. I'm really, really looking forward to it. And honestly, I'm so happy to be able to finally share all these news with everybody and to invite everybody. If you are going to Tuska in Helsinki this year on June 30th to July 2nd, please check out the forum. There will also be a huge expo around the festival. The lineup is also amazing. There is Ghost, there's Archenemy, there's Gojira, there's
Electric Callboy.
Electric Callboy, yes. And I am blanking on many, many others. Spirit Box sadly cancelled, but there will be Delane in their place.
Nice. That's
In
good.
Flames.
Yeah. And special shout out to our dear listener Susanna, who comes from South America to Finland to go to the Tuska Festival.
Yes.
So make sure to go to the panel, to the forum, and say hi to Kiki.
Yes. I would love that. I would absolutely love that. The festival nowadays has 4 stages. So it has expanded a lot.
Mhm.
It is selling out pretty quickly too. It's almost sold out. And I mean, it's a week and a half until the festival, but still. And the layout is completely different. I mean, also with 4 stages and everything. We remember that there's a sauna.
Mhm.
I might give the sauna a try this year. The
Nice.
festival sauna. After the festival jacuzzi comes the festival sauna.
Yay.
So maybe that will happen. Yeah, so if you're coming, go there, check us out. And if you can't make it, put it on your bucket list for next year or the year afterwards because Tuska is really worth a visit. And all of the panels and interviews that we'll have this year will be recorded and will be released here on the Bleeding Metal podcast later on.
That was our big announcement.
Yeah.
We now have about an hour of recording, so I think that's a good way to say hope to see you at the festival. We hope you can visit a lot of other festivals, and yeah, stay tuned for everything that we prepare for you.
Yes. Also, I have a few words of wisdom we can maybe end this with. Yes, go to festivals, go to concerts, have fun, enjoy them. Support your artists by buying tickets early, well in advance, because that is the only way that they can make sure that the concert, the gig will happen. Don't do like me. I wasted too much time waiting to really see if Spirit Box was actually coming to my city because that almost never happens. I thought I was dreaming, and all of a sudden it was sold out, and I had to get a ticket from a person who couldn't go. support your artists, buying merch and everything. But also, once you have done that, let's say you're at a festival. Let's say you're like me. You're at a 3-day festival, but you arrived there 2 nights early and have been partying a lot. And on the last day of the festival, your voice is a mess, your body is a mess, you haven't really slept. That was what happened at Rock am Ring this year. And I just thought, Spirit Box is playing, I have to go see them. Bring Me the Horizon are the last ones in the lineup. They're playing at midnight on the last day, but I have to go see them. And I really pulled all of the energy that I had. And I thought, these people are professionals. They are working and they are giving us their best. They are putting all of their vulnerabilities and emotions out on the stage. And out of respect to that, I have to pull myself together and go there and see them and scream if I still can, or applaud if I still can, and just jump and dance. And it was really exhausting, and my body really needed rest afterwards, but it was so worth it because the performances are also so moving. There were a lot of really beautiful statements made on stage as well. There was a beautiful statement from Papa Roach singer Jacoby Shaddix on stage about mental health and suicide and how we have to take care of each other because we have already lost too many people to suicide and just life in general. So to see all of that was beautiful and will stay in my memory forever. So it's worth the effort. It's really great for the bands also to see them moved because so many people are gathered to celebrate them and their music. So yeah, support your artists also by going to see them.
Yep. I agree on that. That's all that I can add.
Perfect. Thank you so very much. Next time we speak, you will be hearing a Tuska interview as well as us. So yeah, hear you soon. Enjoy the summer. Thank you so much, Pia, for everything, for these beautiful 10 years of festivals.
Yes, thank you too.
And yeah, to 10 more years of bleeding metal.
Of course. Bye-bye.